Very warm welcome to you, dear viewers. You are watching OBN Horn of Africa. This is Diplomacy Program, and I am Phantom Belete hosting the program. Today, I have very special guests with me, Honorable Sadiq Adam, Foreign Relations and Peace Affairs Standing Committee member and IGAD and East African Countries Friendship Chairperson, Honorable Ambassador Dr. Tawfiq Abdullahi, Foreign Relations and Peace Affairs Standing Committee member and Chairman of Foreign Relations Subcommittee, Honorable Mr. Mogga Babulgu, Foreign Relations and Peace Affairs Standing Committee member. In this edition, we are going to talk about Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam and the fourth round of discussion between Egypt, Ethiopia, and Sudan over the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. Till the end of our program, stay with us. Very warm welcome to the program, and thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me.
Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam is now 94% complete. How do you feel about this news as an Ethiopian and as a member of the parliament?
Well, the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam is a big project for Ethiopians, and its bigness and its usefulness is very interesting. And I feel proud of this project because I have been participating in various aspects for the fulfillment and the completion of this project, so that I'm so proud that I'm part of this history. My contribution is especially in terms of financial contribution, mobilizing the public to participate in different forms, even promoting through writing articles. And I have been writing an article on Nile Basin Commission that will be established based on CFA, and I have donated it for the project, going there physically, and I have discussed with Engineer Simanyo, the previous project manager, so that my legacy is in various forms, so that I'm proud of myself since I am part of this history.
Thank you for hosting me. I did my dissertation on international law on Nile basis, and the title was A Breakthrough the Deadlock. I'm very much pleased to participate in this discussion. Of course, there is no doubt that all Ethiopians and peace-loving democratic forces are very much happy about, in the achievement of the GERD, that we have reached 94%. But specifically, I have to mention certain things, certain points. One is that, we have confronted so many hurdles in this project. First and foremost, the international financial institutions were reluctant, were not willing to lend any money for any project regarding on the Nile. We had to resort to the internal financial support. So the public at large participated in this, and it's relatively the only contribution of the Ethiopian people. There is no additional support from elsewhere. So, to come to start such a big, mega project with a colossal amount of budget, counting on the people and the resource of the country, is tremendous pressure on the country. And so achieving this is a great herald for Ethiopia. Second thing is that not only international financial institutions were against us, but superpowers also were against us. And we have been nagging and wrangling us on different arena. And achieving such an outstanding result is magnificent. The third is, even though we have started the project, it was started in 2011 and was assumed that it will complete in 5-6 years. But the structure, the organization, the efficiency, was awful, very poor, disorganized, many corruptions. And we have to start, since the last 4 years, we restarted the thing. And coming to such a level of completion is magnificent. So, this having taking these points into consideration, this is a tremendous achievement for Ethiopia. This is a tremendous achievement for the reform of Ethiopia.
Thank you very much. Construction of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam is 94% complete, and the concrete work is to be completed, I think, in the coming June 2024. And due to the construction of the dam, I feel very proud and happy. A great sacrifice have been paid for decades to construct the dam. Despite our right to equitable and reasonable utilization of Zaba River, which contributes 85% to the Nile River, extraordinary influences have been coming from the external power. But due to the extra commitment of the government of Ethiopia and the people of Ethiopia, the construction of the dam have been realized. And due to this, I really feel very proud and happy. I would like to say congratulations to the people of Ethiopia. Not only to the people of Ethiopia, I would like to say congratulations to the people of Africa and beyond, because the construction of the dam benefits not only Ethiopia, but also the people of Africa and beyond.
As to the reason for failure to reach agreement on this fourth round of negotiation, both countries are blaming each other. From your observation, where does the problem lie?
I think this negotiation has been taking place for so many times. If I remember it correctly, it has been discussed, negotiated for about 20 years. So I feel now this round is seems to be the last discussion to come to terms. Unfortunately, the discussion was end up without results, without any outcome. The problem is with Egypt, I think, because Egypt wants to maintain its status quo, wants to continue as influential as yesterday, because it believes that the colonial era agreements has to continue for its historical, for its natural, for its divine given narration. So Egypt wants to continue everything as yesterday, but the circumstances are changing from time to time. Every riparian country wants to use this water in equitable and reasonable way. But the Egyptian leaders always, they are struggling only for their benefits. They show selfishness. They always struggling against the interest of the other. So the first thing that they want is to maintain the 1929 agreement as well as the 1959 agreement. With those agreements, they want to have all the water resources without sharing it with anybody. For instance, with the agreement of 1959, the share that the Egyptians take is 55.5 billion meter cube, whereas 80 billion cubic meter was allocated for Egypt, and the rest is left for evaporation in the desert. So the problem lies, I think, with Egyptian part, because assume that all what Egyptians are demanding, requesting, is accepted by Ethiopians. Do you think that they are stopping nagging Ethiopians? I don't think so. Because they need the issue of the Nile water, the issue of Abai River, the issue of Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam as a local political maneuvering. So that I think the problem lies with those leadership in Egyptian.
It's not a surprise for me that the negotiation failed, because Ethiopia has been participating in this negotiation, in the establishment of a unified position among the riparian countries for so long, starting from the establishment of Nile Basin Initiative in 1999. Nevertheless, even though there was division among the riparian countries, they came to a conclusion, to a unified position that they adopted, they signed the Cooperative Framework Agreement in 2010, May 14th. In that, they have assumed, they have gained the right of utilization, water security. Every riparian country has the right to use the water, the Nile water or the Abai water in its territory. This was stipulated in the agreement, in the Cooperation Framework Agreement of the 2010. But Sudan and Egypt declined to the agreement. They did not sign it. Nevertheless, so they are still maintaining this position that the previous agreements of 1929 and 1959, as my colleague mentioned, they want to retain their share, which they assume to be their natural gifted right. This is unacceptable by us. Nevertheless, Ethiopia has committed to negotiations and is hoping that we could come into agreement. As long as they don't change their position, because even GERD, even though it is not on the holistic dialogue or discussion, negotiation on the Nile issue, it's only maintenance, the application and the operational filling in and operational. They always stick to the water share, which denies all other riparian countries except Egypt and Sudan. So we could not reach an agreement. They are trying, to repeatedly, they come with different styles, but what remains is that they want to maintain and secure their share, which has been divided only between two countries. So for me, it was not a surprise. As long as they don't change their position, I don't think we will reach an agreement. And we have to pursue on the Cooperative Framework Agreement. 6 countries have signed it, 5 have ratified it, and it remains 1 country. So if we succeed in that, then the whole story ends there. So Ethiopia has to foresee and make sure that we put more emphasis on the remaining ratification of Cooperative Framework Agreement. This negotiation among the 3 countries, of course, it is technical, but they drag it to the water security issue, so we will not reach to any agreement.
You conducted your dissertation or your research on Nile River,
Yes.
which was, the title says, Breakthrough?
The title of my dissertation was A Breakthrough the Nile Basin Initiative, because, there was no harmony, there was no agreement among the riparian countries, even though the Nile should have been beneficiary to all riparian countries. Some countries were siding Egypt and Sudan, and some countries were supporting or not supporting, but acknowledging the 1929 and 1959 agreement, even though it was against the will and the advantage of their country.
How do you connect that dissertation or the finding in that dissertation with the current situation or GERD? How do you relate, and what's the main finding that you got there?
There was Egypt and Sudan had exclusive rights to the proportionating the Nile River, and they were not willing to come into any discussion and negotiations. But once this Nile Basin Initiative was established in 1999, the scholars, the academicians started discussing on such things. And it is to the best interest of the region, the riparian countries, to come into a platform whereby they discuss on issues on knowledge-based, scientific-based. So this developed, and eventually the administration, the governments were involved. So this was the first time that 9 riparian countries, including Eritrea as an observer, the 10th, came into negotiation on the terms of Nile Basin, Nile River. So there was no acceptance by different riparian countries to come and sit and discuss on the Nile issue. Since the establishment of the Nile Basin Initiative, we reached to a stage where all countries participated in the negotiation. It was not an exclusive between Egypt and Sudan, but it was among all riparian countries. So that's why I said it was a breakthrough of the deadlock.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Dear viewers, you are watching OBN Horn of Africa Diplomacy Program. Don't go anywhere. Stay with us till the end of our program. Once this Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam goes fully operational, what economic and diplomatic benefits will it offer Ethiopia?
The construction of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam has many economic and diplomatic benefits for our country. Just to start from the economic benefit, one and the big one is the production of hydropower. This hydropower will be distributed to the large majority of population. Again, this will increase the energy supply. It improves capacity utilization. It improves productivity. And this all will contribute to the economic development of the country as a whole. The other is the electricity supply can be exported to the neighboring countries. And this in turn can bring exchange for our country. And this exchange, again, can be used for the development of the country as well. The second economic benefit can be expressed as there can be fishery on the dam. And this is also one economic benefit. The third benefit can be expressed as small agricultural activities can be conducted along the side of the dam. And this is also one big economic benefit. The other is large tourist attraction areas in the cities can be constructed along the side of the dam. The other can be different investors can be attracted to the region due to the extensive availability of the energy. Therefore, we can say it has many economic benefits for our country. The other is diplomatic benefits. The construction of the dam has created an opportunity that Ethiopia is committed to the equitable and reasonable utilization of the water resource between the riparian countries without affecting the interests of the lower riparian countries. We have showed the world that we are fair. The other is the bargaining power of Ethiopia has increased. You know that on the issue of the dam, the United Nations Security Council has made a meeting around 12 times. And at all levels of the discussion, Ethiopia was the winner. That means that the construction of the dam and contributed to the bargaining power of Ethiopia. Ethiopia became very strong. That bargaining power is not a simple matter. The other is the image of, totally the image of Ethiopia has been changed over the world. And also, the construction of the dam urged the lower riparian countries to come to sit for discussion, especially Egypt. Egypt is compelled to come and sit for discussion. And this all is, diplomatic benefit for Ethiopia.
Negotiators from Ethiopian side blame Egypt for distracting the course of genuine negotiation, claiming that Egypt was insisting on protecting unacceptable colonial era agreements. Do you think the colonial era agreement that denies Ethiopia, who contributes 85% of the water of the Nile, workable today? Does this agreement, colonial era agreement, work today?
Well, I don't think these colonial era agreements work today because of so many factors. The first reason these two agreements cannot work today is that Ethiopia is not party to this agreement. This is a conventional principle. Anyone cannot be bound by the agreement that he didn't participate in. This is the first thing. Because Ethiopia didn't participate in 1929 agreement, didn't participate in 1959 agreement. So the two hegemonical agreements that has been concluded before so many years ago is not inclusive, is not engaging Ethiopia. This is the first thing. The second thing, circumstantial changes. There are fundamental changes since the agreement has been made previously. Ethiopia is currently, its population is exploding. Ethiopia is a country with 126 million population. Its people needs electricity. Its people need development. Development is no more in Ethiopia as a need. Rather, development is right. So, as a result, currently, the two agreements, the two colonial era agreements cannot work practically. This is overall, the international law agrees over this, because whenever the needs arise, countries may negotiate, may agree, may adopt another treaty or agreements. As a side of particularly Egyptians, they are not welcome to deal again and again. They don't want to change that mentality of colonial era time. There is a kind of rigidity, no flexibility, disrespecting other interests. So the approach the Egyptians follow is most of the time is characterized by disrespecting and disregarding the other's interest and always promoting their interests alone. That is why so many times agreements fail and end up without any outcome. Therefore, the only solution for the Nile River riparian countries is negotiation and win-win solution. Unless and otherwise, every country may take unilateral action for their development. No one can stop Ethiopia from developing Nile River because 86% or 85% of the Nile water is moved from Ethiopia, derived from Ethiopia. So having all these resources, Ethiopia cannot stay and say simply always seeing the hands of other contributors. Therefore, the two agreements, the two colonial agreements, cannot work because of such a factor, so that what is recommended is to come to the agreements, particularly to form Nile Basin Commission. The Nile Basin Commission is expected to be established based on the CFAs, Cooperative Framework Agreement, that has been already signed by 6 countries and ratified by 5 countries. And the only one country is left to ratify. So if that is complete, Nile Basin Commission will be established, and every action and inaction will be taken based by this Nile Basin Commission. So the only solution is win-win and establishing common commission that regulate this source of water and all its natural resources. This is the way I believe it.
May I ask you the overall idea of your article that you wrote about the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam or the Nile River?
Yeah, at the time of the inception of this project, I was in Addis Ababa University Law School, and fortunately, my title for the dissertation was Transition from Nile Basin Initiative to Nile Basin Commission, and its legal and institutional implication. The overall objective of this writing was its implication, the formation of Nile Basin Commission and its legal and institutional implication. So it addresses the whole history of Nile River and all its riparian countries, its management, its resource distribution, basically the way the countries are thinking in terms of using this Nile River. Basically, the Egyptians most of the time think that this is the divine given resource. And they are always claiming that the flow of the Nile River is the gift of supernatural power. They think that this is a natural right. This is an historical right. This means they are thinking that others are not concerned with the use of this water. My paper is basically concerned with cooperation, negotiation, in coming to a term of an agreement, and so that establishment of Nile Basin Commission. The commission is, unlike other institutions that has been implemented around the Nile River, is different by its nature. It has its own organizations, its own legal frameworks, its own guidelines. It has its own structure, so that every action and inaction will be controlled and monitored by this organization. This may mitigate the conflict between 9 or 10 riparian countries. So the outcome of the finding of my paper is basically the whole system will be changed. Institution is in place, organization is in place. Unilateral action will be minimized, and the donors and supporters of foreign organization will support this organization, and win-win solution prevails over individual action, and so that the conflict will be minimized and growing together in development will prosper. Yes. This is the overall article that has been published on Ethiopian Herald and some other Ethiopian news agencies.
Once this Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam goes fully operational, what economic and diplomatic benefits will it offer Ethiopia?
It was mentioned by Honorable Moga, fishery, power generation, export, and so on. But beyond that, you know, because the tail of the project, the river of the dam, extends 246 kilometers. 246 kilometers, very navigable by ships, boats, and so on. So, you know, means of transport also. Apart from that, you know, ecological change, because this lake, the development, the cooperation, reforestation, and rehabilitation of the river, the Nile, around the lake, in order to avoid or minimize the silt, deposit of silt, you know, we have to protect the erosion. So plantation, reforestation will change the climate. So, you know, there is ample rainfall, which will also enhance the agricultural sector. So this is beneficial economically. Apart from that, you know, the power purchase or power export to neighboring countries with a minimal price. Per kilowatt, it is 0.07 American cents, which is very, very cheap. But it binds the relationship and cooperation among the riparian countries, which Ethiopia is a leading powerhouse in the region. So the unity, the cooperation, the collaboration between and among the riparian countries reaches a level which is very sound. Politically, this is one, but again, you know, we have won in many battles and negotiations on this project. Even the superpowers could not dictate us. And we managed to respect, honor the subsidiary principle, which says that African problems should be dealt with African issues should be dealt by themselves, by Africans. And we managed to transfer, to change or to compel the United Nations security to bring this into the attention of African Union. So these are the paramount gains GERD has supplied to us, or provided to us, I mean. Apart from that, you know, I have no doubt in my mind that Egypt and Sudan will come into their sense and will cooperate with us, cooperate with the riparian countries, because this is the truth. There is no other better alternative, and they have to submit to the...
The fourth round discussion between Egypt, Ethiopia, and Sudan over the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam in Addis Ababa or Finfinne was concluded without any concrete agreement, as both countries announced it through their foreign ministries. How do you feel about this news, and how will this affect both countries?
This disagreement is not new, because always Egypt is the main deserving country which always acts against the agreement. The intention of Ethiopia is ensuring the equitable utilization of water with the riparian countries without affecting the lower riparian countries. But the interest of Egypt is, if possible, totally blocking the construction of the dam. If not, taking the unacceptable and exaggerated share of the water. And this always became, this water share, disagreement on the water share became the main factor of disagreement. And this disagreement comes from Egypt's skills, as we have said earlier. Not only that, Egypt is also intimidating on Ethiopia now in this fourth round. Again, this is against the interest and sovereignty of Ethiopia. And this intimidation is not acceptable as per the United Nations and the African Union provisions. Therefore, Ethiopia will continue the previous equitable use of the water resource. Ethiopia will allow the flowing of reasonable water to the riparian countries, to other downstream countries. Egypt may continue, intimidation, politicizing, securitizing the dam, the construction of the dam. And this is also not new for us. Politicizing the matter is not new for us. And Egypt will continue this, I think. But Ethiopia will continue practicing the principle of equitable utilization of water between the riparian countries. And nothing will happen, I think. Intimidation is always the habit of Egypt. We don't worry about that. As much as possible, we will stick to the law and the regulations. We think about the lower stream countries. They are our brothers. We don't think any other. Using force, so and so. We are also open for another term negotiation. We want to reach at a reasonable agreement. And the stand of Ethiopia is this. And Egypt may intimidate and say and run here and there. That is nothing. Ethiopia is ready to defend the whole national interest of its country.
Thank you again. I have come to you. Honorable Sadiq, the Egyptian officials wanted the fourth round of meeting between the three countries to set specific rules for the annual filling of the dam and its operation, especially in drought periods where rainfall is low. But the same officials are not ready to negotiate in a way that benefits all parties involved. Do you think such approach will solve the problem?
Let me tip over the first question you have raised for Mr. Moga, and I will come to the issues that you have raised now. Basically, I heard the news at the end of the negotiation, the fourth round discussion in Addis, and some people was very surprised, shocked when the news heard. Basically, if we are cautious enough and follow the patterns of the negotiation between Egyptian, Ethiopian, and Sudan, you may understand its characteristics. I always follow the negotiation pattern of Egyptians and Ethiopians. It is basically characterized by boycotting the negotiation, blame shifting, and nagging other party, dropping the negotiation and become an idol. This is what the negotiation pattern shows as a side of the Egyptians. Therefore, it is what was expected that happen in Addis. As previous, it has been done. So I didn't such surprised by the news. Rather, I try to analyze and come up with a sort of scenarios, because since the negotiation failed, so what will be the next? I just assume that three scenarios. The first scenario is that maybe because of failure to come to a good agreement, a good negotiation, the Egyptians may try a proxy war. This is the first scenario. But I again see its likelihood is zero, because proxy war is impossible now around Horn of Africa, because the situation the countries are existing in by itself is a troublemaking. If we look at Egypt, it may try for proxy war using Sudan, but Sudan is incapable of doing such proxy war. If you take Somalia, Egypt, or other neighboring countries, all the neighboring countries are not in a position to cooperate with Egyptian for proxy war. So therefore, the first scenario is zero. The second scenario that I come up with is that the Egyptians may take this situation to the Security Council, or they may take the issue to some other powerful countries of the world. Its likelihood may be possible. The third possible scenario is they may take an issue to the top political officials. This may be the highly possible scenario that will come, according to my analysis, because this possibility is high. It may calm down the situation and may regain for another term of negotiation. The first round of this discussion was held first in United Arab Emirates, and the second also there, the third in Egypt, Cairo, and the fourth in Ethiopia. They may recap this negotiation using top political leadership. Therefore, in my opinion, such blame shifting and always boycotting and blaming the other side, being rigidity, based on rigidity, will not help in the future. When I came to your question that how this approach is useful, no way. Because every riparian country, every negotiator has to know the order of the day. Today, in this contemporary world, there is no solution using power. Power is not the solution. Using weapon is not a solution. The only solution is compromising, give and taking, reciprocity, looking the contemporary world, how the world is functioning currently. It's better to look this way, and good mentality, coming out of the box and deal with heartbroken. Otherwise, the approach that currently the low riparian, particularly Egyptians, follow will not help and will not come up with the result.
Do you have any idea on the question that I asked Honorable Sadiq?
Yes, I would like, I will extend it to the other questions, because, the Egyptian's Minister of Foreign Affairs, his assistant, they mentioned it with the Gaza conflict. So it's not a surprise also, that our rivals, Egypt and Sudan, has been trying to defame Ethiopia on many issues. especially making myths that Ethiopia is against Arabs, Ethiopia is against Muslims. But we know history tells us that it's the other way. Ethiopia has hosted the Islam during the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Twice refugees were sent to Ethiopia because Ethiopia had a leader that is decent and fair. So they had been welcomed by the Ethiopian, the Dane government or Aksumite government, that Ethiopia hosted them and gave them shelter, even though they did not want to be detained by the whatever gifts that they have offered us. And we have been, in 1977, in 1967 war, Ethiopia was the first country among the African countries that cut diplomatic ties with Israel based on the African Union, Organization of African Union resolution. So we have been siding, on principle-based, not wavering by irrelevant situations. But we had consistency in our policy, in our decisions. So, it's among the tactics of the Egypt and Sudan that they want to defame Ethiopia, that it supports Israel, irrespective of whatever is happening. 2 points should be very clear here, because the Egyptians derouted the Nile River from its natural course along the, one is the Toshka project, west of the Nile River. Second is, Salam project. Salam project is they rerouted the Nile River through the Mediterranean, through the Sinai to Israel. So it's not us who should be blamed or who should be accused that we are indiscriminately supporting Israel. It's the forefront actors with the relationship with Israel is Egypt. So this thing has to be taken into account. And now the reason they mentioned that GERD related to Gaza is just to bring people against us, to arouse people, to arouse the the Arab community against Ethiopia. Second thing is, in many of the Arab League conferences and annual meetings or summits, time and again they have been denouncing Ethiopia, that it has been subjecting Arab countries, especially Sudan and Egypt, depriving them of their right to access for the Nile River. This is not true. So they also tried it in the Organization of Islamic Conferences also. So this is not a new thing. This pattern will continue. Nevertheless, we have to be alert with this and try to compel, to convince, to lay our position that we are fair, we are determined to follow, respect, and abide by the international law and convention of transboundary water courses and so on.
Don't go anywhere, stay with us. Egyptian Assistant Foreign Minister Mohammed Al-Orabi, while discussing the GERD negotiation with Asharq Al-Awsat, said, even international and regional mediation is no longer possible at the present time due to Egypt's and the world's involvement in the Gaza war. This statement shows Egypt still wants to force Ethiopia by third-party involvement rather than genuinely discussing the issue directly with Ethiopia and other concerned African countries. Why do you think so?
Egypt changed time and again its tactics. So the core of their approach is that, to make sure that this negotiation is unproductive. they base on two things. One is, African Union, because African Union is a solicitor for this, and they say that African Union is not capable of negotiating, handling such things. Second thing, Ethiopia is not willing to negotiate. Even though they come they sit for negotiation, they stick to adamant to unacceptable condition, terms. So this is what they are after, to make sure that they cannot come closer to any negotiation, and they would like to reflect with their influence internationally that African Union is cannot host this, cannot solicit this, and Ethiopia is not also accepting or trying to negotiate, even though it's them who are stubborn, not trying to understand, not to be abided by the international law, conventions and so on. So it's not a wonder. So ultimately they are going to bring this to the attention of the United Nations Security Council through their supporters in the superpowers, through their Arab League, through Organization of Islamic Conference, to pressurize Ethiopia that Ethiopia is not willing, is not ready to negotiate. And African Union is not an institution strong enough to compel, to conduct such negotiation. So this is well thought, well planned by the Egyptians. It's not a surprise. Ultimately, it will end that way. That's what they are driving to achieve.
As GERD is now on the verge of completion, what is expected from citizens and the government?
The Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam is currently about to complete. I hope it is now around 94-95%. It has to be completed as it is planned. Therefore, everybody has to continue his contribution. Particularly, the government has to continue its effort as has been done previously and complete this dam and make it functional, fully functional. The government has to continue its public diplomacy with other nations, other countries of the world, including all riparian countries. Ethiopia has to continue its negotiation with concerned countries, particularly Egypt, in Sudan, in some other countries. In my opinion, Ethiopia is especially consistent and optimistic to come to the agreeable agreements. Always, Ethiopia is consistent, in my opinion, because the declarations that the press release Ethiopia is always giving from time to time shows cooperation, win-win solution. Because on the international arena, there, especially with regard to transboundary water, there are two basic major principles. The first is equitable and reasonable utilization of water resource. Not only water resource as well. Because in the water, there are so many resources there. This needs equitable utilization without affecting the other. The second principle is no significant harm. Whenever you utilize your part, you should not make a significant harm over the other party That is the principle of no significant harm. I saw that Ethiopia is always congruent and optimistic and consistent with these two principles. Therefore, Ethiopia has to continue with the same pace, with the same plan, and continue complete this Grand Renaissance Dam and make it functional and start another similar projects, mega projects, because we can construct a number of similar dams over the Nile tributaries, more than 12 big tributaries of Nile River. Each can produce a megawatt projects, a megawatt hydroelectric power. When I come to the public, the citizen, the public, the people, nation and nationalities of Ethiopia has to be proud of themselves, because this project would not have been completed had it not been for their helpers, had it not been for their contribution, had it not been for their moral support to the government. Therefore, our citizen has to continue as previous with full moral, with full courage. Second, public to public diplomacy has to continue. The Ethiopian citizens, the elders, the intellectuals, the civic society has to go to Sudan, has to go to Egypt and make a public diplomacy. So if we continue like this, if we continue in such a manner, Ethiopia will win everything and will prevail. Thank you very much.
What's your message for other African countries, and what message do you want to convey for people watching us?
I would start to convey a message to the Ethiopians first. This is a mega icon project for Ethiopia, and it's a very uniting project for all Ethiopians around the world, and we have to bear with the project no matter what, and make sure that we will reach accomplishment stage. Second thing is that Ethiopia is a forefront in justifying the rights of the riparian countries, because there are now 11 countries in the Nile riparian countries, and all of them, except the two lower downstream countries, are against this idea that the previous 1929 and 1959 agreements, exclusive agreements, are unacceptable. So we should strive to come up and sign, ratify the cooperative framework agreement and finish the business. Third thing is that Ethiopia has been very principled and consistent with this, abided by the international law and conventions on the international transboundary water courses. There should be no doubt that we are trying to pressurize or take advantage of the downstream countries, even though we are in the upper stream. One question which could reflect is that had Egypt been in our place as an upper stream country and we were downstream countries, the situation would have been very grave. They would have never respected international conventions and laws of transboundary water courses. So we soft-heartedly and based on principles and international law and conventions are pursuing that all riparian countries have the right for water security, to utilize water in their territory. But Egypt would have approached differently had it been an upper stream country. Had Egypt been in our place as an upper stream country and Ethiopia had been downstream country, they wouldn't have even allowed the negotiation to start. So, you know, this reflects their attitude, their selfishness, their reckless approach, and defamating Ethiopia's and other riparian countries' approach of equitable and reasonable utilization of water. And then, you know, of course, the Article 5 in the Declaration of Principles and Article 5 and 6 in the International Water Course, Transboundary Water Course, states that both this Article 5 and 6, as Honorable Sadiq mentioned, reasonable and equitable utilization of water and not to cause significant harm. It says significant harm. It doesn't say harm. It says significant. And without this, they wouldn't have even tried the slightest thing to cooperate with the other riparian countries had they been in our place.
Finally, what I want to convey is that after this, I think the public should unify, be strong, and defend the whole national interest and the sovereignty of the country. Because of the commitment of the government of Ethiopia and the people, we have constructed the dam. And also we have a question of seaport. These two factors are very critical for the development of Ethiopia, for the prosperity goal of Ethiopia. This all needs unification, having the same stance. We have to, again, we are going to go further distance to get seaport. The matter is not only about the politicizing that is coming from Egypt, is not only for the GERD. It is also to terrorize Ethiopia not to ask the seaport. This all will be, I think, achieved if the people of Ethiopia come together and have the same stance on the national interest of our country. And also, the people of Africa should come together and stand together to defend the whole national interests of their countries. They have to stand together. One country should also stand with other countries' national interest. This is also expected from the different countries of Africa, and as a whole, the OBN and other media should make promotions on this and make information to the people to come together and fight and stand for their national interest, whether it is a Gerald or seaport, so and so on. Therefore, after this unification, standing together in the country as well as with other neighboring countries is very important.
Excellencies, thank you very much for your precious time and allowing us to share your knowledge, analyzing the current situation about the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. I appreciate it.
Thank you. We are glad to.
Thank you. Dear our esteemed viewers, this brings us to the end. Thank you for watching.